Welcome back to another question and answer from inside the Big Tire Garage. As I've said before, you guys get the drill now. Ask the questions, get the sticker, send me an email, all that kind of stuff. 3 questions today, and then, as I said before, I'm going to add into Where Is It Now project stuff at the end of every video. So we're going to talk about a super special project at the end, which has a really cool, happy ending, and I'm super stoked about it. So, question 1, kicking it right off here. This is from A-Team Off-Road. I actually really like this question. It's a super simple question. Hey Ian, what is your least favorite part of a build? And I'm gonna give you 2 answers to that. So I really don't have a least favorite part of the build, but here is my least favorite part of the way that my builds kind of play out in this world. So, and that's probably just not me, it's probably everybody. In my world of building stuff for television or you know, whatever we call it nowadays, I have fixed deadlines that I have to get to. But the problem is because I have these fixed deadlines that I have to get to, let's use Ultimate Adventure as an example. I had to get to Ultimate Adventure this year with the Colorado. But, big but here, you would think, oh, well that's perfect. Since you know Ultimate Adventure is in, you know, whenever it was, October, September, late September, late October. You know you have to be there for that. Start building the car in January. But I can't. Can't start building the car until all the contracts are signed with the network, all the filming dates are locked into place, and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, this year, that meant that I couldn't start building the car until, you know, August, unfortunately. So that means that sometimes these cars, you know, then you got to plan your shoot days, film, figure out what's going to be in each episode, and then what always ends up happening is we end up with like a mad thrash to finish the car. And that's my least favorite part, because sometimes I wish that, you know, I could just like say, you know what, stop, we're not going to do that, we're going to just wait, we're going to get this car done perfect, and then we'll go out. But it's just not the reality of my life. That's not, I chose this life. I know that. So that's unfortunately what happened. What happens. That's my least favorite part of the build, is when I get backed up into these crazy thrash deadlines. And I only hate them when I'm in the middle of them. When you're like on your third 20-hour day trying to get the vehicle done to get to the start of something or a shoot day that you got to get to, man, that wears me out. I'm burned out on it. And I'm trying to figure out a way. I've done it so many times now, trying to figure out a way to not have to do that anymore, but it just doesn't work. I still end up having to do that. But I think I've developed a plan in my head to sort of stop that from happening. So that's my least favorite part of the build, is those mad thrashes. But that's not really a regular world for everybody out there. So now let's talk about something that everyone might run into that might be their least favorite part of the build. I would say what used to be my least favorite part of the build was whenever I backed up into any type of sheet metal work and or body work, because it just honestly scared me. I didn't know how to do it. And because I didn't know how to do it, that basically put me in a situation where I would just procrastinate on it, and then projects would stall. Example, Jeep Comanche. That's what happened there. I hit the sheet metal and I stopped. And now I'm glad that I pushed myself through that by finishing my 53 Willys wagon, because with it I was able to do a bunch of the sheet metal work. Then I did the 2-door Jeep Gladiator, where I did a bunch of the filler work. And I think I'm at the point now where now I'm feeling confident enough in that sort of whole body work thing that sheet metal doesn't scare me anymore, filler work doesn't scare me anymore. Now what I need to do is conquer the idea of doing all of that. So sheet metal, filler work, prep, paint. That's my next step. And then I'll get past that. And so that's not really my least favorite part of the build. It's just part of the build that I was always scared about doing, and therefore kind of honestly never did. So that would be another one. And then the one that I think most people would agree with is I don't like maintenance. I'm not a fan of, even when I was a mechanic, I hated changing oil. I hated doing it. I hated doing it for other people. I hated doing it on my own vehicle. I just, you know, they say the plumber's toilet never flushes and the cobbler's kids never have shoes. Well, I was a mechanic, and so my cars, you know, always needed oil changes, always went well past that, or always broken down, not necessarily broken down, but they ran, but not well. And so when it comes to maintenance on vehicles, that's kind of where I'm not a fan of. I don't like I don't like bringing the vehicle in and, you know, tearing the axle apart and fixing a leaky axle seal or checking the ball joints or all that kind of maintenance stuff. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm just not. Never have been, never will be. I have to do it, but that would be my least favorite part. Like I said, the shop truck's in here right now because it needs a bunch of maintenance. It's about to go out on a trip, and so it just needs maintenance. It's not my favorite part. I'd much rather build a whole new car, to be honest with you. So there you go. Those are my least favorite parts of the build. I hope you enjoyed the answer to that question, and hope those kind of... Tell me what your least favorite part of the build in the comment section below. I'd like to know. I'd like to know, do people hate wiring, gears, welding? Man, you're crazy if you hate welding. So there we go. So thank you very much, A-Team Off-Road. Don't forget, send me your address via email, and I will make sure to get you a sticker pack out. Paul's Pups. Paul's Pups wants to know, just curious, why are you mounting the radiator in the back? Is it a weight thing? What Paul's referring to is he commented on that video when we were building the rear-mounted radiator in the bomber car when it was on the fab table. So Paul, just so you know, in the world of off-road, most of us in our tube buggies and or race cars, the radiator is in the back. It's in the back for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's in the back because the front of the cars are so compact and everything gets sucked in so close to the motor, there's really no room for a radiator in the front. I think when it comes to off-roading, especially on an Ultra 4 car, I think the radiator is safer in the back. You'll see them, they mount them basically right behind the driver and passenger. And so I think it's protected more and gets a lot of airflow. So it's just a very common off-road thing to have the radiator in the back. It has nothing to do with weight, nothing to do with weight distribution or anything like that. It's just the radiator is always in the back in a serious off-road car like an Ultra 4 car, or in this case, the Trail Bomber. Very common place to put it. Does make chasing air pockets a little tricky. On the trip out with the Bomber we just got back from in Arkansas, man, I chased an air pocket basically for an entire day. Thought we had it once, then it came back. So the way we actually ended up doing it was we backed it up a hill and then just kept pouring water in it. And then we finally got it beat. We got the air pocket out. So it can become tricky to find the air pockets in the system when the radiator's in the back. You can use a vac filler, which basically vacuums out all the air and then forces the coolant in, which is another way to do it. Or what you can also do is add a little bleed valve at the front of the motor. I didn't do this, but my good friend Bill McClister, who I wheel with a lot, he showed me, and I never thought of this. I filled the ports in on the side of my water pump, very common thing. What he did is he filled in one, left one of the heater ports open, put a hose on it, ran the hose up, and then just put a little bleeder valve in it, which was brilliant. Brilliant, by the way, which is what I will probably end up doing in the future on that Bomber car. I think I'll go ahead and swap it out and add a bleed valve to the front just to make my life a little bit simpler. So there you go. That's why the radiator is in the back. All right, next question. Here we go. Question number 3, and then we'll get on to where is it now. Here we go. So this is from John Daler. John Daler. Given that bead lock rims typically only lock the outer bead, what is your opinion on inflatable internal bead locks like the inner airlock or the Coyote product system? Given their price point and that they would be a little more covert than a traditional bead lock rim to authorities, they seem very appealing. So I think that we are seeing a lot of cool tech coming out in wheels right now. I have used an inner airlock system before. It was from a different company. It was from Stawn. I don't know if you guys remember them. I don't even know if they're still around. I think they worked fine. They did the job. They inflated inside the tire. It was like a small little internal bead lock, and then you put the tire on the outside, and then you inflate the internal bead lock, and that pushed on the outside of the tires, and all that kind of stuff. So yes, I think those work great. I think if you need a bead lock like that, I think that that is an option. I think though what we're seeing nowadays is a lot of other options out there. So I just got back from Ultimate Adventure and I ran the Method Race Wheels bead grip technology wheels. And I really played around with them a lot. I dropped them down to like 4 PSI, 6 PSI. And as a matter of fact, in one case, I dropped it down to 0 PSI. Not on purpose, I cut a tire. So I cut a tire on the Colorado and drove on it. Flat, dead flat. Did not debead inner or outer bead. It stayed on the wheel. So I think that there's a lot of other options out there. I'm really sold on that bead grip. I've run them on 2 or 3 vehicles and I haven't popped a bead. And a couple times I thought for sure I was gonna, when I was up snow wheeling with Yukon, I thought I was gonna fire a bead off, but it didn't. It stayed on there and I was pretty impressed with it then. Now that I've seen it go to 0 PSI and not come off the rim, I'm even more impressed. So I think when it comes to bead locks in general, I think they have their place. I think traditional bead lock, like we see, I think has its place on a serious, hardcore off-road rig. Like an Ultra 4 car, like a bomber trail car, a 2-buggy, something that's gonna see just serious abuse off-road. Do I think the Jeep JL that's gonna go off-road occasionally needs bead locks? No, I think there's other options out there for it. I think there's a bunch of different wheels out there that will work great. I think the benefit of the true bead lock in the situation of like an Ultra 4 car or a true trail car is the fact that even if you cut a tire, you can still drive on it. It's not going to come off because the bead is actually still attached. And that's the scarier part, is when it does debead, the tire can start to shred or start to come apart. So there's a greater chance of being able to save the car. And in a race car application or a true off-road buggy application, I think that's important. I think for 99.9% of the people out there who are just doing light off-roading, I don't think they need a hardcore traditional bead lock. I think they could get away with something like the Method Race Wheels bead grips. I think it also depends on the weight of the vehicle. You know, it kind of comes back and forth. I don't want to run a bead lock wheel, like a traditional bead lock wheel, on a really, really heavy truck, on something that weighs more than like 8,000, 9,000 pounds, like a 1-ton pickup truck. That's just silly. Those I definitely want to do some sort of internal bead lock on. Or no bead lock at all. But at the same time, something that heavy, if you're going to off-road it, it's a greater chance that that tire is going to come off the bead. So I would say super heavy trucks, so big trucks, yes, inner airlocks all day long. Anything light like JLs, Tacomas, Gladiators, you know, the new Broncos, you don't need bead locks. I think you can get away with something a little bit different. I think you can get away with some of this new technology that's out there. Take advantage of it, use it, and then just pay attention to your tire pressure and just keep an eye on your tires. What's the worst thing that can happen? You're gonna debead a tire? It's not the end of the world. Jack the car up, fill it up, drive on. You know, there's worse ways to spend your day than fixing a tire in the woods, trust me. So there you go. Hopefully that answered your question. I think they're cool, and I think all bead locks have their place out there. All right, so now, boom, not a question, but I promised you guys this. Where is it now? Project vehicle. You're always asking about different project vehicles. Where is this? Where's that? Where's this? And I said I was just going to take a different one every one of these Q&A sessions, and I was just going to tell you about it. So this is going to be a cool one because I'm super excited about it. So I don't know if anyone asked about this, but some people ask about it. I don't know if anyone asked about a YouTube comment, I should say. But people ask me when I'm out and about. So a long time ago, I built a Suzuki Samurai on my old show, and I built it many different ways. It started as a tin top Samurai, and I just did like just a quick and dirty, you know, Toyota axle swap, 6.5s in the case, swapped in a diesel VW mechanically injected engine, and boom, we went 4-wheeling, and it worked awesome. Then we brought it back in and made some changes, built what's called an LCG crawler out of it. So dropped the suspension weight down, made it super low, went up on tires. I think I pulled about 6 inches of ride height out on it and went up to a 40. I did some aftermarket axles for it and 4-link front and rear, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then wheeled it again, and it was great. Then we went all in, full tube chassis, aluminum body, kept the diesel, kept the transmission, kept the Toyota axles, went up to 40, once again, 40s again, big tires on Yoda axles. And once again, it did great. It's awesome. It was an awesome machine. And the best part was, I think it weighed like 2,800 pounds ready to wheel, which blew my mind because there was nothing to it. It was just tube and an aluminum body that weighed next to nothing. I got my body from my friends up in Canada, Aqualoo. Okay, so fast forward, we're gonna go way fast forward. So the production company at the time doesn't want the vehicle anymore. They want to get rid of it. They want to sell it. Back then, I had a great relationship with the production team owners. That was the previous owners to the ones that basically retired me. And they asked, what should we do with it? I had them sell it to my friend Jimmy Penner at the time from Essentially Off-Road. And I told him, I said, hey, you should buy this, super cool. And he brought it to Moab with us, and we had a bunch of fun with it one time. And he wheeled it a bunch of times, and he liked it too. So then came the decision of what to do with it after that. He drove it, his family got a little bit bigger, he wasn't wheeling it very much, and then the motor actually went south in it. I think he bent a rod, is what we determined, inside the mechanically injected diesel. And so we went back and forth on what to do with it, and when the decision was made that then the best thing to do would be to go ahead and swap in a new TDI diesel. So I had, my son had a TDI diesel that someone had smashed into the back end of him. He's okay, no harm, no foul, but the car was a write-off. So we ended up writing the car off. I bought it back from the insurance company to get the motor. I took the motor and put it in the Suzuki on four-wheeler. Basically brought that car back, did the swap on four-wheeler, and then gave it back to him. And he's just a busy dude, man. You know, 2 little kids, just got business to run. So it just sat. It sat. He called me 6 months ago with the news that he said, I'm cleaning the house, I'm getting rid of some project cars, getting rid of some vehicles, I just got too much stuff. Do you want the Suzuki back? And that was a deal that him and I had together. You know, I said, they're gonna sell you this vehicle, but if you ever wanna get rid of it, I want it back. And he called and offered it back to me. And as much as I wanted it back, I was in the middle of the bomber build. I'm in the middle of the Colorado build. I look around, I got 15 cars. I'm just like, I don't need another project. I've got 4 outside that I'm itching to get at right now. And so I told him, I said, you know what? I don't want it. And that was where I left it. And then I hung up. And then my brain immediately caught up with my mouth. And I knew who had to own that Samurai. So I immediately called Nate Pickle. Now, I'm sure everyone here knows Nate. I'm sure everyone here watches Nate's channel. I think Nate does a great job here on YouTube. It's Dirt Lifestyle. If you don't, get over there and subscribe right now. He does amazing work, puts out some amazing content, and I consider it fortunate to call him one of my friends. And I was super excited. He was on Ultimate Adventure this year, and we had tons of fun. And I really do like Nate. Nate's a really, really good guy. So Nate is also a diesel guy. For those of you that don't know, Nate has a TDI Jetta diesel engine in his TJ, which I think is super cool. And he was one of the people that I called originally when I started talking about putting the TDI engine in the Samurai. So I used him as a resource to get a hold of just some people that I should talk to, where should I get some information from. And so he helped out a lot by getting the TDI underneath the hood of that Samurai. And I also knew that he was the guy who would want that Samurai. So I immediately called Nate and said, hey, are you interested in this car? And he was like, yes. I then called Jimmy and said, all right, Jimmy, you got to sell it to Nate at a good deal. And he did. And I was so happy to find out that recently Nate posted a video of that Zook being offloaded with a forklift at his house. I think he's got huge plans for it. I think he's got portals in the works. And I'm excited to see what Nate turns the Zook into, and I'm so glad it's gonna live on with another one of my friends, and I'm stoked to plan like a trail ride with Nate with that, because that would be even better. When he gets that thing back together, super excited to see it. So there you go. Super cool story about an old project with a super awesome happy ending. For all of you who asked where the Zook is, that's where it is. Watch Nate's channel, Dirt Lifestyle, on YouTube, and you'll be able to see that thing get brought back to life, and couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier. Thanks once again for everyone who asked their questions this week inside the Big Tire Garage. If I asked your question, once again, send me an email with your address, and I will get a sticker pack sent out to you ASAP. If for some reason you haven't got your sticker pack, shoot me an email. For people who've asked questions previous videos, shoot me an email. This past month has been so busy that I kind of was slacking on getting some of those out. And I think I got all of them out now, but if you don't see yours by the time this airs, go ahead and shoot me another email and I'll get you a pack out. All right, hey guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time from here inside the Big Tire Garage.